Well, hey everybody, it's the 16th day of November 2025. I'm Jan Erickson, and this is As Above, So Below. Well, I hope you had a good week. Been getting a lot of things done around here, which is good. A lot of pruning, some of which my husband couldn't do because he had surgery, actually two surgeries in the last year, so he had to be careful. Plus the run up to that, so like about a year and a half worth of stuff on 5 acres. That's a lot of stuff that goes undone. So, but that's getting done now, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes. See when the snow flies and stops everything in its tracks. We're going to start out today with I Was. I Was is the 13th rune of the Elder Futhark. It's a connection between opposites. It's made up of laguz, twice, and not forward and reverse. It's pulling or drawing higher awareness into your physical reality, into your ego awareness, basically. If you were to spin it, it would look like a vortex, because either way you look at this, it's laguz. Laguz is that magical hook that you can use to, it's about flow and intuition and higher awareness, and you can use it if you're empathic or even if you're not, to just sort of visualize all the energetic connections you or others have established with your energy over the day, and watch them dissolve and then pull what's left back to you that's yours. But if you were to put it on its side and spin it, it would be a vortex, or it would look to me like a vortex anyway. And watching the vortex of the soul energy sort of, getting more dense and more dense and more dense, to where it's starts out big, but then, looks like a tornado. And then at the bottom is creation, essentially, the creation of you. And so I like when I pull it, because it can be, it can talk about the connection between opposites. And so if you're talking about opposites, ultimately you're talking about the soul versus the physical reality and the ego. And trying to flow higher awareness into the ego to raise that vibration up higher, so you're not in that reactive mode all of the time to things, and making real what really isn't necessary to make real. If you subscribe to the idea that you create the reality that you see, one way to say that is it's your perceptions of it that is the creation. That's one way to look at it. And someone else might look at the same thing and see something else, And so essentially you create how you see things, the perception of things. And with I Was, you're I mean, it's a true as above, so below rune. You're essentially bringing that higher vibrational energy into how you see things today. Or for the week, actually. Let's take a look at the Geomancy rune, though, and see what that one's going to be. See there, that's fire. There's air. There's earth, and there's water. Oh, so we have Vaya. Vaya is about an independent path that you're taking that's going to manifest, or you're going to manifest. Its complement is populace, where you're more of the follower, but here or represents the crowds. It'd be, so instead of a single line of dots, you'd have two lines of dots, and a very passive influence with populace. Here, though, with the single dots, that's all active, and so there's intention happening here. And so how you either manifesting a new path forward through higher awareness, or using higher awareness to understand the new path that's opening, instead of maybe seeing things from a reactive standpoint. You might look at the new path and see it more subjectively than you need to. With higher awareness, it tends to expand that vision, and so it could have something to do with that this week. But let's go ahead and take a look at the cards and see what the cards have to say. kind of give us more of a direction of what that's going to be, or maybe for some people. But there's a clarity and with the vision with I was that the ego doesn't necessarily have. You know, if you're reacting with ego, you're reacting with emotion. You're reacting in a way that maybe your perceptions are guiding. You know, based on past experience and whatever judgments you had about that, you see something through that lens. And I think what I was is trying to suggest here, if a new path is opening or one that you're creating for yourself, it needs to have a higher sense of vision than the ego would provide. So I've already done some shuffling here to get ready for the reading. So let's just go ahead and cut the deck, take the lower half, and pull 3 cards. We have 2 from Wands, 1 from the Suit of Pentacles. One is the Knight of Wands, so there won't be a number associated with that, but we have the 10 of Wands, and then the Knight of Wands, and then the 2 of Pentacles. So let's go ahead and, where's my calculator? There it is. Move this thing over. Clear that. So 13 was I was. We've got the 10 here, plus the 2. Oh, well, no, that's not what that is. 13 plus 10 plus 2. That's 25. That's going to reduce to 7. 7 is about observation. It's about letting things settle out so you can understand the bigger picture. So I think that with I was, that's going to relate very well to that, where you are going to just sort of be absolutely sure of what's happening here in terms of the new opportunity or new path or whatever Vaya is suggesting here for you. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to leave them in the order I drew them. Here we have the 10 of Wands. 10 of Wands is an interesting card. It can be carrying a heavy burden, but on another way of looking at it, especially if you turn it this way, it's a skewed version of Degas, the rune Degas. Degas looks like a little bow tie, and it's the end of one phase and the beginning of another. And so here you have the end of one phase and the beginning of a lot of stuff happening. You could look at it that way. If he's out away from what it may be his home, you see the dual line there that divides one from the other. And he's walking in the direction of his home, maybe. I mean, it could be a client's house, who knows? But maybe he's coming back. He's done his due diligence on this side of the line, and now he's going to cross the line over to the home and show them all that he's, the new opportunities, the new ideas, new opportunities that he's managed to acquire. Maybe he's a businessman. Maybe these are potential job opportunities he's applied for. But if he's a businessman, an entrepreneur, maybe a craftsman of some kind, maybe these are the job orders that he's gotten, and so he's taking them home to show his family. That's one way to look at this. Given that it's the 10 is about endings and beginnings. If you reduce it to 1, it's new beginnings. But there's a sense of endings and beginnings. If you draw, you see the Roman numeral 10, if you were to draw a line here and a line here, you have Degas. Again, the end of one phase and the beginning of another. So this could be, although it seems like a heavy burden to carry, it could be the beginning of something lucrative for him. New opportunities, new ideas, new creative vision, if you will. And the fact that his head is down, he knows the way home. He's trusting the process. He's trusting that he is doing the right thing for his family. That's one way to look at the 10. I don't like to just stop with the idea that it's a heavy burden, because if you think about it, I used to own a business, and so these are clients, and to me, and so it's like, oh, okay, this is cool. But I know that a lot of tarot readers will call this, well, he's carrying a heavy burden, he's leaning into it, but he's leaning into the new opportunities too. So let's just take a look at it from that standpoint. here you have the Knight of Wands. You could say he's on a spiritual journey because you've got the three pyramids there in the Holy Land, if you will. That's kind of one way you can look at the pyramids when you see them in a tarot card. That's a spiritual type of a thing. He's you see the snake, or not the snake, but the salamander here reaching around, not quite reaching its tail, but the beginning of an Ouroboros there. His visor, of course, is up. He's holding a wand or a club, still with the life growing on it. Even though it's not growing from the ground, there's still energy there. Wands is about energy. It's the fire element. So if you're talking about energy, you're talking about spark of life, creativity, opportunities, new ideas, new self-expression, even though that's kind of an air thing, expression is, but expressing all this out to people. The Knights are very passionate. They're very, well, they're on an adventure. They're on a quest. And so there could be something here. His horse is rearing up. Wands is an active suit because the fire element's an active principle. And so he's setting off on a new adventure. Now, which I think, given that he's looking at this man here, this man could be the knight. And so that's why I think together, this is not necessarily carrying a heavy burden, but it's one that he can bear. He can bear the burden of new opportunities and new things that are coming. Simply because of the way he chooses to hold it. He's got it fanned out more up here. He's got it gripped together right here with one hand around it right there. You can see his hand around it. He's holding this one in the back. So I think that he has this ability to balance things in a way, these new opportunities in a way that are going to make him successful. And the Knight of Wands is about adventure and progress and taking risks. So there may be a little bit of risk involved in the new path. But at the same time, it looks like from both the 10 and the Knight that it could be a successful situation for you. We'll just have to see. Now, lastly, we have the Two of Pentacles. Here you see a man, a juggler, not jugular, juggler, holding two coins, and it's there. You've got this rope or this type of. It doesn't really show for sure what it is, but it's like a gear. You've got gears and the chain that goes in between, or the it's like on Harleys you have the chain inside, unless you change it out and you put on a different type, that's made of it's not leather, but it's rubber, I think, or some type of composite type of a deal. And you can run your primary chain with that, right? Or your primary components with that. It's called an open primary because there's no cover on it, right? But then you have the drive belt back in the back, right? That's around the disc on your back tie. Anyway, I know about Harleys. Anyway, so and that will break. You get a rock on it, it'll break. Ours broke, and so I know about this. And but that's what it reminds me of. And we always preferred the Kevlar belts is what we preferred. But anyway, here you have. That's just a side thing. Here you have, but it's what it reminds me of. And he's standing on one foot. He's leaning more toward this one, but he's having to make a decision. Two is about decisions. It's also about love and balance and healing and reciprocity and things like that. But here, it's about a decision. He's weighing things out. And again, with the 7 overall numerology of the reading, that's perfectly aligned with that, with the idea of a set of scales, where you're measuring things out. You've got the weight on one side and the gold or whatever on the other side to see exactly how much it weighs. But the idea is to let it all settle out so that you can understand you can understand the whole picture of things, or as much of it as possible, right? You see, just like you see with the two of swords, his back is to the ocean, like the woman's back is to the ocean. And in her case, she's got a sword in each hand, and she's blindfolded, and and she's sitting on a bench, but her back is to the ocean, and the ocean is not smooth, right? And so again, it's not smooth here. But here you've got the ships, on the big waves there. And so it's almost like, this one is corresponding with this one, and this one is corresponding with this one, which may just be in a further off distance. But if it's not, this is the bigger opportunity, but also comes with more responsibility, as you see here. There's some responsibility there. This is a smaller one. But he's having to weigh things out. And again, here's your dual line right down here, and he's on the other side, and the ocean's over there. But he's turning his back to emotions, right? And trying to elevate the situation to what this is really about, which is about material security. So I think that the two actually defines the reading. And then, like I said about I was here, the connection between opposites, here the same sort of experience, where here he's got more on the top than what it appears to be on the bottom, although that's not true, but it's what it appears to be. Same sort of thing here. In a way, you've got to make a decision. You've got to weigh it out. And so if these two cards are describing a potential lucrative path that's coming your way, you need to decide just exactly how is that really going to impact your material security. And which one, if you're having to make a choice, if this is a bunch of different choices you're going to make, if it manifests for you that way or resonates that way for you, then you're going to have to weigh that out, each one, and figure out which one is it that you're going to actually take up. And the idea is you turn the emotion off. It's like, this might look really good and feel really good to you, but maybe this is the one you need, right? Because maybe this is the beginning of something, whereas this is maybe a little more established and maybe a little more than you want. That, like say you bought a business versus starting your own, for example. If you're buying someone else's business, it's already been established. It's going to take time for you to reorder things to your own needs and your own perspective and how you wish to do it. But if you're just starting out, this might be the better way to go, because then you can build it the way you want to, instead of having clients that expect a certain thing and now all of a sudden, it's different and they don't know what to do about that because they're not sure, is this really going to be a reliable business now that it's been sold? It's that kind of thing that customers or clients will think about that when you buy an existing business. Sometimes it's like, oh, thank God somebody new here, but not always. It can be a little disconcerting for existing clients, right? So I think that weighing things out as to what's going to be best for your own material security, because Pentacles is the earth element and it's about material security and grounding and education and home and tradition and loyalty. It's a very Othala type of, Othala is the 24th rune of the Elder Futhark. It's a very Othala type of experience with the earth element. Othala is an earth element rune, meaning sacred space and all of that, and basically everything I just used to describe the earth element in Pentacles. But you got to take the emotion out of it, just like with the Two of Swords. Got to make that decision, but without emotion coming in. One might look really exciting to you. That's the emotional side of it. You're not really seeing the true picture of it. And you've got to have the facts. You've got to be able to look at things in a practical way. And Pentacles is about doing that and making that decision in a way that's practical, and you've done your due diligence on getting those facts, and to kind of weigh out, well, which one do, if it's more than one to choose from, which one do I do? If it's taking on a particular type of work, you might want to weigh out, okay, do I really want to spend the time doing that, or do I want to let that one go because there's some other things that are coming up and I'm going to need my time for that? That would be another example of weighing things out. And so I think that, again, with the 7, there's about observation, there's about letting things settle out. Again, with the 2, that tends to mirror that. But I think that overall, I think the reading is positive. And so, if there is something that happens or you see an opportunity to manifest something new in your life, be sure that you stay positive about it. Measure your own risk that's involved and understand it from that perspective as well. What kind of risk am I taking? That could also be reflected in this card. Is it the bigger venture or the smaller venture that's going to work best for you? The smaller venture isn't necessarily a bad thing. You can build on that from there. And again, if it's something that's the difference between buying a existing business and creating your own, it could be that creating your own is the better option for you. Now, it could take, more time. So there's all these factors, right, that you have to weigh out as to what's going to do best for you. It could be buying an existing business, even though you're taking a different kind of risk there than you might in starting your own. It might be based on your own needs, the thing you need to do. And so again, I think with the overall 7 numerology, the idea of observing and gathering the facts and letting things settle out before you make any kind of decision, weigh things out with the 2. And I do think that the 2 is probably the focal point of this reading ultimately, because whatever you're going to do, you've got to do it with eyes open, and not have some kind of emotional reaction that's going to drive that decision. It really needs to be as objective as possible, which is a higher form of vision than simply reacting is. That's more ego-centered. And weigh out the risks, weigh out the risk, do a risk benefit analysis. If you need to go to, some kind of financial planner to do that, maybe an accountant, to go and talk to them and say, this is what I'm looking at, and I just need a little bit of guidance on what kinds of things do I need to be looking for. All too often people jump first and then ask those questions later when they're stuck in the middle of all of it. And I don't think that that's what this reading is suggesting. And again, that's ego versus higher awareness. And I think at this point, whatever you determine to be the right way to go has got to reflect the higher vision that higher awareness gives you versus the subjective type of reaction to things and excitement that the ego can bring. Just sort of table the excitement and keep that in the background and not have that drive. It's like, oh, cool, I want that. Well, maybe that's not the one to do, right? So just be careful, be measured in what you do. Let things settle out. Let the facts settle out. Seek help if you need it. And even if you don't think you need it, you might want to get it anyway. See an attorney or a tax attorney or an accountant or somebody like that. Maybe that might be somebody to go and talk to, particularly if this is business related, where you're either going to start one or buy one. Find out, what the local laws are surrounding it, the state laws, the federal laws. Find out all of that, and be sure it's something that you want to actually embark upon. The Via, again, is an intentional path that you take. And if you're going to take something intentionally, you've really got to do your due diligence to understand what that is before you take it. So anyhow, homework for the week. Thanks a lot for watching, and check out the blog over at Stepping Aside. The web address there is imsteppingaside.com. The forecast went out for the week. So did the correspondences for Work and Magic, if you're so inclined to do that. And tomorrow, Monday, in the 3 a.m. hour, that's when the Monday through Friday As Above, So Below readings come out, and it's just in one blog post. You can check that out and see what resonates there for you. And remember, lots of planets in retrograde right now, and Mercury will be all week long, and I think all next week too. I think it ends on, let's see, does it end on Saturday? Friday or Saturday, something like that. I have to look. Saturn leaves retrograde, not this coming week, but the week after. I was working on that stuff, and I think it's either on Monday or Tuesday, something like that, or Wednesday. It leaves retrograde before Mercury does. But anyway, while there's like, I don't know, six planets in Mercury right now, 6 or 7, something like that, a lot. And so a lot of reflection going on in a lot of different ways. So be aware of that. And again, have a good week, and come back again on Sunday next week for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.